interview him, so it's not weird or anything.
My teeth hurt from that introduction. It was so sweet. All right, so start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, tell us about your family.
Well, I'm from Chicago, West Side. It was kind of bad, kind of neighborhood, and but I had grandparents that lived in the suburbs, and they had a little money, so I was able to go to better schools, and my peers were kind of jealous of me because I had better things, and but when my grandparents passed, I think that kind of opened the door for criminal things to come in my life.
So when did you move to the Rockford area?
About 2011.
2011, okay.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about your family. Do you have any kids?
Yes, I have 5 kids, 3 sons, 2 daughters.
Awesome. And a little bit about your education background. I heard you talk about some of what you were going to school for.
I always liked school. I kind of exceeded in school. I got an academic scholarship going to high school. I went to St. Joseph, but I didn't finish, until way later down the line. I ended up getting my GED in about 2014.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about your time at Winnebago County Jail. You were there from February 2017 to October 2023. What were some of the things that occurred, particularly as a person with a disability? What are some things that happened to you?
Well, I have bad asthma, and medical attention is kind of, the medical staff, they almost like they acted as another arm of the law. They kind of, they were mean a lot of times, and like I remember having an asthma attack, and you could literally hear me wheezing, and like from feet away, and the lady was like dangling the treatment, the asthma treatment medication in front of me, and she denied it to me. She denied me, and I spent a lot of nights where I couldn't breathe, and I was sick, and at times I had to have ramp intervene, and that which helped me because, but a lot of people didn't have that, so.
Right, and you said you had to find the right nurses.
Yeah, I mean, I was there for quite a while too. So after a while, I learned to who's but the kiss.
Play their game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Talk about what did you observe happening to other disabled people? Did you witness neglect, abuse of power?
Definitely. I mean, they don't really care if you got a disability or an issue or something like that. They kind of just, they kind of treat everybody the same, which is garbage. And if somebody needs special attention, you most likely not gonna get it.
So probably no accommodations and things like that.
No.
Okay. So what were some particular instances of racism? When you and I chatted a couple weeks ago, the story about the furlough incident really stuck out to me. Do you want to share that story?
Okay, there were 2 guys. One name was Reggie Bryant, and Reggie had like a petty theft. I think he had 4 years on the table or something like that. And there was a guy named Charlie Swift, I should say, and he had like a kidnap and a rape, and they were like trying to give him 25 years. And they both had the same judge and the same lawyer. Now, Charlie's a white guy, and Reggie's black. And when COVID hit, Reggie's daughter died, and Charlie's mother died, and they both went up for furloughs. And they granted Charlie his furlough and denied Reggie his furlough. And later on, they even gave Charlie another furlough after he got sentenced to straighten out his affairs, which I thought was unbelievable.
Oh, so he got 2.
Yeah, he got another furlough.
With a kidnapping and a rape charge.
Yes, he did.
But nothing for a petty theft.
Exactly.
So I'm sure that's not the first one that has
No.
happened. And any other particular instances that you wanted to share? Or is it just too many to even name?
It's quite a lot. It's a lot. For sure, like being there for so long, I can see the difference. Most time the black guys would ever leave would be like to get on the bus to go to prison. And probation or anything like that. It was almost always prison.
They were just going from there to
Yeah.
state prison. Okay. What was the most traumatic part of life in jail?
I would probably say the shakedowns. I think they did these routine shakedowns, so it could be 3 in the morning, it could be 12 in the afternoon, you could be, asleep or something, and all of a sudden they come in and flick the lights on and they yell, and they like yell. It's kind of startling the way they do it, and everybody has to get up and get out and come out of your cell, get dressed and face the wall, and they usher you out to this outside part. And if it's freezing cold outside, you freezing. It's not necessarily outside because you don't get sunlight, but it's outside temperature all the time. And a lot of times it'll be 3 in the morning and you got on just the jumpsuit and you like freezing to death, and they make you sit on the cold floor for like an hour. And sometimes people, especially people that are new to jail, they don't really understand the procedure, and so they might do something stupid and get themselves, roughed up, and now they in the SIG just because they didn't understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that a lot. I saw they shot a guy one time in the eye with, it was a pepper gun, but I saw that was like super unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
When we come out, they'd for some reason, I always felt like they targeted me. It would always be a red dot over my head because they had like a little gun out there. It was like a pepper gun, and that kind of made me nervous. And they would destroy your room, and sometimes they would take your belongings that you paid for on commissary. I mean, they do all kind of, like if you were going taking classes, they would, take your folder, they would throw your papers all over, and just destroy your room. And I think that was the hardest part for me.
So what kind of effects has that had on you, even now that you are out?
I don't know if it affects me now that I'm out, but I never forget. I know one thing. Now that I'm out, I still dream a lot about jail, and I know for most of the time, my lockdown time was 4 o'clock, and so now in my dreams, I'm always rushing to get everything done before 4 o'clock because I know I got to be locked down. So that followed me.
Yeah. So how do you personally, either in jail or once you're out, like how do you personally maintain your mental health?
Well, in jail, I always felt like I didn't have any option, and I would every morning it was kind of a routine, and I would stick it in my mind from the time the lights click on, and I look at the walls, and I just remind myself that I gotta make the best of whatever I can today. Like I can't let this break me. I just kept bringing up a fighting spirit, and that's kind of what I did every day. Like, go make this the best day, and I get up and I distract myself with exercise, and I had an excellent support system too. So, and everybody didn't have that. So
Right. Yeah. So did you see other people just not be able to maintain that positive mental health?
Oh yeah. You can see it all the time. A lot of people. It was always several time bombs throughout the pod, and all it takes is for them two to collide into each other. And, people kind of, struggling with the whole idea of being incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And, this guy's wife cheating on him, and before you know it, it's a fight.
Mm-hmm. So did you experience anything that Alice and I talked about in this training while you were there?
Specifically?
Yeah, or anything that we talked about, like with corrections, with the court system, like is that kind of how it was for you when you went through all that?
Like for instance, the plea deals, that was super traumatic. I drove my case out for a long time, so it was like extended trauma. I fought my case for almost 7 years, and there was quite a bit of time on the table, and it would always. And to me, I had never been to prison before, so it's kind of like I'm still in disbelief, and it probably took me maybe 5 years of that sentence before I actually accepted it, and I had to, okay, I'm still gonna have to do more time, because I actually, the original plea deal, I'd still have maybe 4 more years to go, before I actually got out from the original plea deal. But it took me a long time to actually accept it. It's kind of, I mean, and you see it, and everybody's dealing with this. Everybody's dealing with this, and that kind of makes it hard because, you know, everybody's looking at different amounts of time, varying amounts of time, one of the difficult things was too was there were some I'm gonna say inaccuracies in my plea deal. Like this isn't true, but in order for them to even give you what they call a plea deal, you gotta like cop to this, and I'm like, man, that's not true. Like, you know what I mean? And that prolonged it because I didn't want to like take, you know, cop to stuff that really wasn't true to me. And yeah, and they inflate a lot of the charges and a lot of the things. And
well, and you also shared that, you know, you can't get any like Pell Grants, federal grants for school, and I'd asked you, I'm like, well, you know, can you fight that? And you had made the comment that because the judge that you had was so horrible that you didn't want to take a chance of even having to face him again because you were afraid of what he may do, like in retaliation. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever want to see him. I had kind of a hard line of judge, and he scared me for the better part of the time. 7 years I was there, he scared me really bad.
Yeah. So even, you know, you can't get the grants to go to school, and because of you had such a horrible judge, you can't go back to school, which is something that you wanted to do. So I just thought that was pretty horrible. So what have been the best parts about reentry?
Oh, wow. I get a new lease on life. I mean, obviously I get to do things that I wanted to do before that I had never done previously. It's a new start for me, so that's the best thing about it, you know. I mean, after so much, it's everything really. I mean, it's no sunlight in there. Like the only time I'd ever get to see outside was if I went outside to the doctor, and that may be once a year or something like that. And even then, it was kind of horrible because I'm being paraded around in a striped jumpsuit to a hospital. You can't even enjoy it. No, not at all.
No.
So,
what's been the hardest about reentry?
Financially, trying to figure out how I'm gonna make my way going forward.
Yep. And what steps have you taken since October 2023 to start figuring out your financial?
Well, originally when I first came home, I was employed for a short period, and then health problems, and I had previously been on SSI, so I filed for SSI, and it's like a whole process that I got to go through, and
a long process. So last question, what do you wish people knew about incarceration and criminal justice?
I wish they knew that the stereotypes, and it's not always true. It's like I said, a lot of these things are inflated. Like a lot of these charges, I come from the west side of Chicago, and I'm legitimately seeing people get drugs put on them. Like I'm knowing the police put these drugs on it, you know what I mean? Like they target these communities and inflict the most harm on them. You know, they use the law as like a blunt object. It's not what people think.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh, sorry. You're not free yet. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have questions. I wrote my question down. So recently we've seen reports in the news about Winnebago County Mental Health Board providing funding going to the jail, or a report last fall during election season about how they make sure all detainees can vote. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is that what we see in the news, how it actually is?
Not at all. They trick you with everything. With voting, it was this issue I remember with the pens. Like you had to cast your ballots in a certain color pen, but they don't provide those pens for you. And if you get caught with those kind of pens, you go to save for these same pens. And yeah, that was kind of a catch. I can't remember exactly if they ever redressed that, but I remember that being an issue, and when I tried to vote, and I gave up on it. Like, yeah, they kind of on some, they don't want us to vote. They make it sound like they don't want us to vote, but and with the mental health thing, they I would say that it's they good at finding ways to raise money and act like they're doing these things in the jail, but it's not really true. I went to a mental health counselor and I tried to talk to them, and they tried to like give me some medication, and I didn't really want to do that. And that was the only help they offered for me, was like some medication. It's like really, it wasn't anybody that, you know, talked to me or any, you know, support like that. It was just, here, take this.
And probably if they had someone, it wouldn't have been like a culturally competent person.
Yeah, and a lot of guys do, and they kind of walk around, you know, like zombies. But for me, I wanted to know what's going on, and so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. This is Megan. Thank you for sharing your story, by the way. First, I'd like to say that it's been really enlightening, and I like coming to these trainings because I'm here to like expand my mind and learn something new, and Alice is good at making sure I do that. My question is, okay, so like the kind of like preventing you from having emergency medication, or, you know, like taking away your right to vote, certainly these things would be illegal, right? So do you know of any organizations or people that are doing anything about this specifically in like Winnebago County to like say like, hey, you can't mistreat people just because they're incarcerated?
Ramp. I mean, it was on more than one occasion I had to reach out to Eric, and he was able to call the captain and make sure something would happen with my medical condition, and it seemed like it worked. You know, I don't think he wanted to go through all that, so he, you know, the day I call Eric, the day I go down to medical, it just that fast.
That is great. Thank you.
Yay, Ramp. Yes. Any other questions? Deanna?
So I have one. Hi, this is Deanna. Kind of a build-up. So there are some programs I know in Winnebago County that are trying to break the cycle for youth incarceration, like Youth Build. And they unfortunately got kind of hit hard because one of the examples that they used from Winnebago County was Fifth and Chris. And that was kind of, I mean, that gained like national attention, that, you know, he re-entered society, had this, you know, very successful burger joint, and then unfortunately recently was just convicted of arson on said property. So how would you rebuild that for the youth who looked up to that, and then they have that reoffense? Like, how would you as an advocate for justice reform kind of turn that for the people who are using that as an example for like these things? If that makes sense.
That's a super tough question.
I know, I'm sorry.
She's good at those.
I don't know. I think that's super unfortunate whenever, you know, that somebody will use something good and then do something bad. It kind of ruins it. It's like, I don't know where I would go forward with that, actually. I just saw that recently too, his mug shot, and I'm like, wow, he really did set this place on fire. But I don't know. I feel like that's a tough one.
Stumped.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Can I say something
Please do.
even pertaining to that and how you kind of feel like it's a difficult question to answer? I think there's self-reflection has to be done here. Is a lot of us have the power or the empowerment opportunities to empower individuals like Mr. Jerry here. And the mindset when they're coming out of these situations where they've been incarcerated, they have been conditioned to a certain condition. And when they come out, we have to find the support systems for them, having these resources for them to go right into and not have that lapse of coming out, getting back acclimated to their old neighborhoods. We have to have resources and support systems in place. And then for Mr. Chris' situation, is that it has to be ongoing support for him. You know, it appears that his mindset said that these are the things that he needed to do to get ahead. And we've probably failed him as a community, not one person, but as a community, where we could have provided more guidance and more support with him so he wouldn't do those things. And I say that to say this, is that when individuals come out of a situation where they have been locked away and told that they would either never get out, or it would be 10 years, or you won't see your grandkids or your kids, that's a shift in the brain where they no longer feel viable to the world. And so if they no longer feel viable to the world, they also don't feel a sense of urgency and purpose while they're incarcerated. And so what I'm saying is there has to be supports and resources for when they come out. We cannot allow them to wait, and even if it goes further than that, where 6 months prior to them getting out, we need to start the process. And I was curious when you said RAMP stepped in. It's like, how did you start the process with RAMP? So many others didn't do that and haven't done that, you know. And so even if you don't have a disability, what other resources can go in early on and help those individuals to come through that? And so that's the kind of how I see it. And you know, I'm just anomaly because I just think like that. But at the end of the day, I think that it's all our responsibilities to do self-reflection of what are we doing to help these processes, because they are humans, they are a person, and we neglect that because we think that they're being incarcerated and they're conditioned to that.
I wanted to add, to build on that, and something that we've just been talking about at home. I hope it's okay that if you wanna build on it too, but, you know, when he came home, the support from his community or from his former friends or former whoever colleagues was to pull him back. It was to pull him back into their old business and their old system. There was a lot of help and support that he could have used from friends, but instead it was like, you know, here's this instead. And Eric and I have been talking about the guy James with the restaurant, and I don't know him, I don't know his story, but I wonder how much he was being pulled back down by people who should have been lifting him up. So when we talk about support, yeah, not only is it, sometimes it's just not there, but other times it's the opposite of support. People are more than willing to pull you back in.
Any other questions?
Thank you again for sharing your story. How did you find out about RAMP or your resources? Like, how did you notify to reach out to RAMP?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's.
Alice is my partner, so she really have, you know, so it was kind of, I was lucky.
So that would be frustrating for those who don't know that connection. They wouldn't be able to know where to reach out necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky because I saw a lot of cases where a lot of people had their health, it just completely ignored, or, you know, it was kind of, I was lucky.
And I've reached out to jails and police officers to try and provide resources, and no one wants to talk to me. But who even knows, even if I did get them to talk to me and give them our RAP cards and our information, will it even be passed on? So again, he was very lucky having Alice in the role that she's in. So yeah, how many people don't have that at all? So I think Amy, you had a question.
I did, but then I felt like a lot of pressure going after all those great things. They were so good, it made the whole building move. I guess going back to Deanna's thing, question, I actually do know the gentleman from Fifth and Chris personally, but, I guess the things that I wrote down and some of the things that Alice and Jessica shared in terms of like, you know, just being careful of untrue narrative and yet although some of the narrative may be true, let's remember that doesn't always define that whole person, it doesn't. And just because he fell into a situation that repeated something unfortunate, doesn't mean that every other one is going to. And I have to also say that the same kind of went through my mind in terms of the discussion about police officers. And yes, there are some terrible things going on in that world, but let's not forget that every police officer that is doing a kind thing out there isn't doing it only for the media or for whatever. There may be truly some police officers doing the right thing as well. So I think in my mind, the idea is to let's not define everybody under this or that, but to be careful what that specific narrative is and not judge any particular situation, but to be aware of it, to be mindful. Don't believe everything you hear, don't read, but look into it yourself. And I think that, you know, that can help you understand way better than just taking everything for what you read in the media or see or hear from somebody on the street or whatever it is. To take time to look into it yourself and realize that that same situation may not be the same the next time for somebody else. That's just what came to my mind.
Thank you. Anybody else? Awesome. Now, is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you everyone for